Since you don't read, I'm going to read you a little bit that's on the James F. Osterbur, OSTERBUR.com website. The rules of redress are these, or the law of the United States by the First Amendment duty. It is a law, it's the Constitution, it's our government. It is what they must enforce and what they must obey, what they swear to obey whenever they take an oath of office. They swear that they're going to obey the First Amendment law. And a part of that law is redress of grievances. So, primary to our duty to this nation world, we have, or we go to prove beyond doubt that we, the people, are the owners here. This is what democracy actually means. It means we are the owners. We're not to be ruled. We're just to be left alone. And our liberty is to prove that we are the owners here. That's what we do, or that's what we should do. So nonetheless, a thief takes that away by screaming, "They can't stop me." But of course, that isn't really true. We can stop a thief if we catch them, if we know what they're doing. And we know what they're doing. They're taking control of our government away from us. So, but that cannot be done unless the law and its courtrooms are corrupt, and there are conspiracies and collusion to deny our right to own this nation and our lives. There is certainly that. We don't get to choose, they choose for us. We're not told anything, as is with the case of COVID. Just believe, 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 don't do anything, don't question your leader, just believe us, believe us. But of course, believing them is a lie, because they lie and 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 they steal and they lie. They lie. So the delusion is supported by the propaganda arm of media, which is of course how COVID became what it was. It doesn't mean COVID wasn't a disease because they released something from the university. It was their disease and we paid for it. It was their disease, and they corrupted and stole our government and stole our money and everything else. They are liars and traitors and failures and fools. Nonetheless, a failure is to shout that you are wrong without providing the truth of evidence. We have to provide the truth of evidence, or it's just believe. Believe what is right or believe what is wrong. Just believe. That's what the thing is. And there's noise here, trucks going by. So, nonetheless, redress is about proving the evidence. It's just that simple. Redress is about, we find there's failure in you, and we want to prove the evidence of what is right or what is wrong. And we want to know what the consequence for being wrong is, and we want to decide for ourselves. That's the case of redress, by our own vote. So liberty is what we owe ourselves and our society through democracy to enforce. We are the owners here by the disciplines and duty we share as life, nation, state, world, and so on, to protect our future and our world. That's what our liberty is. We have the right to enforce our law, our custom, our Constitution, our government. It's not President Trump is not our government. Or any of the other people we have hired as Congress or whatever. It is not the government. They are just employees. So the freedom is what we agreed to as a nation, is our personal right to be protected by law from those who would steal it, in defiance of what others want, so that we can achieve our own version of living as a participant in this society. Doesn't mean we want a different society. It means we want to protect the society we have. And of course, that's a duty to oversee and protect that law. That's what liberty means, to empower the constitutional law that is our government, which unites us. That's why we are a democracy of owners united to protect ourselves from those who would otherwise take away what we have earned. It is our right to be free. It is our right to have the liberty to choose for ourselves what is or is not true. Not because of what we want, but because it is either true or it is not true. And we have to have evidence to prove that. We have to have a courtroom to provide the means to create the evidence that others cannot then just deny. So truth to science for us all, as best we can. And since since the noise is coming up here with wind, we'll have to hurry it up. So the law enforced is what rules the world, what rules the nation or state. It's not the money. Money is just a promise. It's just a promise. And of course, if we don't respect that promise, then it turns into a lie. And of course, our choice is to remove the lie and recreate the choice by deciding what is true or what is not true for ourselves. So, redress is the law of this United States of America. It's the law. And the law is our government, is run by a constitution which we have agreed to formally, which unites us. So we the people means that the Constitution is our government, not our employees. And to demand redress means we have to unite as one people to say it's our law, it's not yours, it's our law, you must enforce it, it is our law. And we must have a courtroom, and that courtroom can be anything we want it to be. You just have to prove that you are united as owners to decide for yourselves what will or will not be true. To assert, we have, as a state or nation, found a failure in the people who are running government for us. And we have found a failure. They can't do anything right because they have ruined the money, and without money there is no such thing as government. So we have to enforce our law, and we have to find a way to find the evidence that we know then is either true or false as best we can, so that we can make an actual, valid, realistic, not believer-oriented decision by our vote. We have to assert that this is our property. This is our lives, our future. These are the securities we made. We're not going to allow, as with health care, extortion. It's just extortion. That's all it is. Criminal organizations have taken over our lives and our government and our everything. And worst of all is a claim of universities and the worshipers of its cult, which is a claim, we don't have to just believe the university. Just believe them. Don't question the university. The university is God. Well, they're not God. And they claim that they're going to ignite the same fire that's on the sun here on this earth. There's 130 major experiments across the world trying to do that. Trillions of dollars spent already. And they're not going to stop because it's their job. In other words, it's their money, it's their power, it's their pride, it's their everything. If they stop, they don't have a job anymore. So they're not going to stop, even though they know better. But nonetheless, we need to bring that as the most critical moment of our lives. It is the worst of the worst of the worst, because wrong means that this planet turns into a sun. What you see on the sun is a nuclear fire. It's burning the bond in atoms. That's what it is. Even though the university will tell you it's all magic, made out of things they cannot explain. They even say that the sun is made of hydrogen, whereas hydrogen, the tiniest element, the fastest element that is known, is the only thing. It's an ash cloud. If it escapes the sun, it's an ash cloud. It's a fire. It's an ash cloud, just like anything else has a ash cloud to it. We need to identify what is true or false about their intent, because they're not gods. They're just former classmates. That's all they are. And they, instead of believing that they protect you by protecting themselves, that's not true. They protect themselves by having a job. They protect themselves by creating something that they can do that we have to pay for. They are liars and traitors and failures and fools and Satan. Because Satan is the destroyer of the world. That's what the religious word means. It's the destroyer of the world. And then if they ignite that fire, that same fire, here as is on the earth, as is on the sun, our planet will turn into a sun. They cannot prove that's not so. They cannot prove that anything about what they say about the sun. You take a look at the sun. It's 94 million miles away, million-mile-long flames according to them. They can't see the inside. It's all a theory. And it's a theory that can destroy us, can incinerate us. And it's even predicted by biblical prophecy that, if the next time around it'll be by fire. Well, guess what? There's the fire. And if they ignite atoms on fire, which means the entire planet is fuel, then it's fire for us. No going back. One instant, and that's all there is, because it's a self-sustaining fire. Take a look at the sun. It's a self-sustaining fire. It creates its own plasma. It creates its own fuel. It creates its own heat and radiation, which will melt you. So it comes first. And if you don't believe that's important, you're just a fool. And you prove that by saying it's not important. So wake up, assemble yourselves into a united people that says we need to know. There's no doubt we need to know. We cannot just let the claim of a few people who are being paid billions or millions or whatever it is they're being paid. We cannot let them decide for ourselves. We can't. We have to take this into our own hands. We have to remove the threat of weapons of mass destruction and change everything, because it's all a lie and it's all a failure and it's all university-led. And the universities will not like that, and the diplomas will not like that, and they'll bitch and moan, but the end result is it's all diplomas that run the nation. If you don't have a diploma, you don't run the nation. It's diplomas that make these decisions. Therefore, it's the university that has decided to gamble our world. So I'm here to advise you that redress of grievances is the law of this United States, and it cannot be abandoned and it cannot be denied. And the judiciary does not have any control over it because it is a constitutional law. And they have no legal right to interfere with constitutional law. It's not their job. So it can't be denied, not by the President or the Congress or anything. It is the law of this United States of America. And what is really critically, as of this moment, truly important about that are the things that university does to destroy our lives. They have decided that they are God, as is proven by the fact that they're genetically altering nature. Nature is genetics. That's what it is. It's genetics. It builds our body. That's what it does. It's nature. So they're mutilating nature, adding chaos to nature in an attempt to create new life for themselves so that they can prove they are God. That isn't even the most important thing. Fusion is the worst of the worst of the worst. There's no such thing as fusion. Their claim is two hydrogen atoms can be combined into a helium atom. If that was true, the universe would be full of helium. The Constitution is our government. It's not an employee. It's not a president or a Congress or any of the others. It's just the Constitution. Because that is our contract with each other. That's what we agreed to as we the people. There is no such thing as we the people ruled by employees. There's only we the people govern ourselves by the laws that we create or allow to be created. So we need to take a look at our Constitution and discover that that the president doesn't have unlimited powers, doesn't have rights to do anything other than what the preamble itself declares is the purpose of this government, as the purpose of what the society is supposed to be. And you can read that for yourself, but it basically says that, that we're for peace and harmony. And of course, you can't get that with university-led democracy as has been for the last 50 years. They've been a complete disaster in every sense of the word. And of course, only a diploma runs the nation. Only a diploma runs in business or banking or anything. It's only a diploma that decides your world and educates your children and indoctrinates them into the idea that you can't have anything unless you accept the debt of a university and live your life for whatever purpose the university wants. And of course, Trump is the supposed opposite of that. But he's not. He's for power. Just like the Democrats and just like everybody else the last 50 years is just greed and greed and more greed and greed and more greed and greed and more greed. And pride and power and arrogance and apathy and disrespect for every living thing on this planet. That's their contribution to this world. Plus all the weapons of mass destruction and the experiments to destroy nature, the experiments to ignite this entire planet into a sun, experiments for anything and everything, trillions of tons of poison, quadrillion tons of garbage mountains that you created because you threw it all away. No resources for the future means no life for the future. So you know, I don't have any respect for you at all. You chose a world that's dying. But I'm supposed to, life says that I should leave you with some degree of hope. And that, of course, is that you can change. You can, you know, do something different. You can stop the crisis of Trump headed for the same thing that Nazi Germany headed for in World War II. That only the powerful have a right to rule. Only the powerful have set standards for you, so you have to obey them, or they're going to kill you. And it's just in the university or Biden, you know, they don't have any respect for reality at all. None at all. And that, of course, is the way of what has been for the last 50 years plus. No respect for anything. That is their final epitaph. So you can stop them by enforcing democracy. We the people have rights. We the people are the owners here. We the people can decide whether or not we're going to war or not. We the people can decide if there's world law or not. We the people can create a Bill of Rights for ourselves and for our soldiers and for anybody that actually has an interest in freedom and liberty. We can do that by our own choice and our own vote. But we have to have a redress of grievances. That's the law. Redress of grievances is a constitutional law. In other words, the judiciary does not have any authority over it. And they're not allowed to interpret it. They're not allowed to do anything to the Constitution itself because they're not part of that. Congress is allowed to make decisions and change the Constitution. And we, the people, are allowed to change the Constitution with redress. That's our legal right to investigate the evidence and prove by our own vote what we choose for this nation to be. That's our legal right. It's not a moral right. It's not an ethical right. It's not a political right. It's a legal right. It means we are the law, and we decide what our government is going to be. So you can choose that. That's my gift to you as a you know, you have to have hope. We can choose that. And we can stop all the crime and not all the crime, but all the really tragedy of hate. Hate will sneak upon you if you're not watching. It will. And then, of course, once pride gets done, it's the little pride is your little voice inside your head that's trying to tell you to take revenge and this or that or the other thing, whatever it is that it's trying to tell you. And sometimes it wins, and you see hate when it wins. So pride is making life into a game, and in a game there's always winners and losers, or it's not a game. It's just something to do. So the university believes they play the biggest game in general society because they believe they're God. Winners. They believe they're God. That's why they want to change nature, mutilate it so they can figure out how to play God so they can show you, I found a way to be God. But of course they can't. They can only be devil. And of course, then there's Trump, who wants to be God by controlling the military. He thinks he's a big God by controlling the military, and maybe he is, because he can, in fact, enforce a complete denial of world law and turn it into chaos. And that, of course, won't do you or me any good at all. We can't go back. Not from the ignition of atoms on fire. We can't go back. We can't go back from nature mutilated into a crisis. Can't go back. We don't know how. We can't do it. We can't go back from water loss so that there is no drinking water left, or it's so polluted that we can't ever use it again, which is certainly coming after 60 years of dump, trillions of tons of poison on top of the water supply, into the water supply, under the water supply, everywhere you can think of. There is no future at all unless we change. And that means you have to change. Not only is the government a problem, you are the problem. Greed and 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 greed. Greed and greed and greed. That's all there is in this nation. And of course, you have no brain, because immigration actually does raise the price of everything. It increases the competition for everything. And as it has been throughout all of history, the reality of competition is that the resources are attacked, and then of course we run out of resources, and then there's war. Because we don't have what we need to survive. So we're just going to go take theirs. They're not going to give it to us, because then they won't have any. So we have to go take it. So it's war. But war is, 98% the cost of human existence, the increase in population, because it never changes, because the population continues to rise. The population continues to rise. That doesn't mean children are bad. But it does mean that the world is full now. The world is finite. The planet is finite. You can't just go get whatever you want at the store anymore. It's not going to work. You have already ransacked and raped and ravaged the whole planet and nearly destroyed everything. So you have to make a decision not to do that. You have to make a decision not to drive everywhere you can think of. You have to make a decision not to fly airplanes everywhere you want to go, because it's consuming the ozone, which is going to give you radiation poisoning. In other words, your life is about to change. One way or the other, it's going to change. Because the end result is that lies always fail. Only truth survives beyond the grave. And your truth is that you don't care. And of course that means life won't care about you either. So a lesson to want is that what you want determines your behavior, determines what you believe. Whatever you want is what you want. And that drives you to suicide and everything, because you can't have what you want, so you give up. So don't do that. Just stop wanting. Stop wanting. Pride makes life into a game, and with the game, somebody's got to lose. stop playing a game, and then nobody has to lose. And power, of course, is about judgment. I can judge you, I can steal from you, I can do whatever I want with you because you are considered worthless by me. And of course that means that you can turn to violence, and then of course violence demands fear, otherwise it's not violence. So the end result of that is that you can stop all that, stop judging. Let people be who they are. That doesn't mean they can break the law, but the law has to be justified and fair. And of course the courtrooms in this United States don't know what that means anymore. They have been college educated. They don't know what democracy is. They don't know what freedom is. They don't know what liberty is. They only know what greed is. Greed and greed and greed and more 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 power and more greed. It's all that you have left. That's it. You have greed. So change or die. It's your choice. But extinction is forever. And you can't stop things when they've gone past the point of no return. And of course, there are people who are trying to turn the military into a death machine to prove they're God. There are universities trying to prove God by changing nature, and universities trying to prove God by they can then take from the sun a fire and control it. They can't do that. You're insane. Try to find a brain back, because your insanity is just going to kill you, and it's going to kill me, and it's going to kill this world, and it's going to kill your future and your life and your child and your everything else. You are insane. Stop us.